At what point do we scratch the idea the market will ever go back to normal? The market is, I mean, listen, volatility is crazy right now, but you have AI, but you guys have to realize something. Like, there's always something in the market. There's always something the markets care about. Like right now, all the markets care about is AI, 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 AI. You go back a few months ago, all the market cared about was the banking system, was deposits, regional banks, right? That's all the market cared about a couple months ago. Before that, obviously it was inflation. Now people don't really necessarily care that much about inflation anymore. Before that, it was Russia, Ukraine. Now the markets could care less about what's happening in Russia, Ukraine. It's not a catalyst at all. Then you go back to 2021. 2021 was all just stimulus. Then you go back to, 2020, it was COVID. All the market cared about was new cases, new variants, vaccine approval. That's all the market cared about in 2020. Then you go back to 2019 and it was the Federal Reserve easing up. It would try to raise rates. It brought it back and then the markets rallied and it was like this big growth period. 2018, all the market cared about was China trade war, US-China trade war. It's all the market cared about in 2018. It's always something, right? There's always a reason why the markets are going to go down. There's always a reason why they're going to go up. So this is unlike anything that I've ever seen, what the market's doing right now. And what I mean by that is every single thing that I have ever learned, everything I've ever experienced in my 17 years, 18 years of doing this is that when these things happen, stocks do not go up. And that is an inverted yield curve, an aggressive rate hike cycle from the Fed, and an oil price shock. Those three things in history, if you go back to literally 1900 all the way through to 2023, and you count the times that those three things happened within the same calendar year, every time in history, not like 9 out of 10 times, not 80% of the time, 100% of the time, a recession followed. All three of those things happened last year. Inverted yield curve, oil spiked to $120 a barrel, and you got the fastest rate hike cycle in history. Never mind just a rate hike cycle. You got the fastest rate hike cycle in history and one of the deepest yield curve inversions that we've ever seen. The market's not supposed to move higher when those things happen. It's just not. Unemployment's not supposed to stay at 3.6. GDP is not supposed to be at 2 when those things happen. But you've also never had, going back to 1900, you've also never had a situation where the global economy was turned off. Trillions of dollars around the world were injected into the economy. People were cashed up with all this pent-up demand waiting to be unleashed into the world. And when that happened, the economy got turned back on, and all those trillions and trillions of dollars are now being spent and is what is driving this economy and why the consumer is still so strong and the labor market still so tight. It's not supposed to be that way. People like to say, oh, but this time it's different. This time it's different. A lot of people like to say those things. Every time in history, when the markets are crashing or when something's happening, every time people say, oh, this time it's different. Usually that's just wishful thinking, right? Usually it's wishful thinking. But this time you actually could say it is different. It truly is different. Never has this happened before, ever in history. So truly it's a first experience for a lot of people. Right now the markets, all they care about is AI, and AI is something that it's not a bubble. AI is here to stay. Like AI moving this market to the upside it's not something that's just going to dissipate. It's going to be a bubble. It's going to pop. This is something that I think is going to be a real game changer. You actually had the CEO of Alphabet said yesterday that, I'm sorry, not Alphabet. It was Microsoft. The CEO of Microsoft, literally at an event, it was today, not yesterday, it was today, when they announced the pricing for their Copilot, the AI-powered, chat version, and their Microsoft Office 365, like that whole new suite of products that's powered by AI, their Copilot product. They announced that the analysts were expecting it to be anywhere from $8 to $10 a month. It's $30 a month. Do the math on how many hundreds of millions of users pay subscriptions to Microsoft for all those suite of products. Do the math. Even if just some of them, $30 a month. That's why Microsoft stock went crazy today, went to new all-time highs. But he actually said he expects AI to add $10 trillion to the global GDP. $10 trillion. That's such a large amount of money that you really can't comprehend. So AI is here to stay. It's not coming. It's here now.